Okay, so we are on day 2. You should have traced your leaf shape or painted your actual leaf with Mod Podge, and we are now going to add the details. So I have my horizon line. I've gone from dark to light above my horizon line, and I've gone from light to dark below my horizon line. Okay, so now I'm going to show you a couple little things we can add to this. We will want to use our round tip brush today. You also want to have a very thin brush for details. Okay, you can also still grab a larger brush if you feel like you need that. Okay, so I'm going to make a little path on this. And so today I'm going to be grabbing that dark blue again. So today you will need blue, white, black, and possibly orange or yellow. Those are for the leaves. So again, blue, white, black, and possibly orange and or yellow. Okay, so I am going to go to the center of my horizon line, and I'm going to do a little perspective here. Okay, which means I'm picking a vanishing point, and I'm going to create some diagonal lines that go to that vanishing point. Okay, this is just creating the idea or illusion of a little bit of maybe a path here. Maybe we're looking down a path, and of course then we're going to have the little fall trees growing up along that path there. Okay, I'm going to take my really thin brush, and I'm going to take a little bit of black, and I'm just going to outline that sort of triangle path. I'm going to take some black and work in a little bit of some horizontal lines. Okay, across my path there, again just even helping to push that it is maybe a path, maybe a gravel path, maybe a dirt path. Okay, I've mixed a little bit of black into my blue here. Okay, so again I have that blue, black, white as my primary colors, and then we'll be adding the accent color with your fall leaf. Okay, and I'm making horizontal lines throughout this triangle shape here. Okay, so creating this little illusion of a path into the horizon. Okay, so once you have done that, you can always add a little bit more to it if you want to. I'm going to take the really thin one. I feel like maybe there'd be a little highlight or white, so I'm just going to take straight white and add some wavy textures on the path here to just make it look more three-dimensional. Okay, so now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to start painting the branches, okay, for the trees, and then finally we'll add the leaves. So one of the ways I like to think about doing this is if you're painting a trunk of a tree, you want to use a slightly bigger brush. You can see I have the round tip. If you're painting the branches of the tree, you want to use a smaller brush so you can make a thinner line. So thicker line and thinner line. Really, you can make any tree just considering how you're going to change the lines. Are they thick or are they thin? So I'm taking my round tip now, and I'm taking just some black, and I'm just going to slightly place in where these trunks might go. Another little tip about painting trees is I like to think of them as the letter Y. Y. Okay, so for example, I can make the entire tree by repeating that letter. So maybe there's another Y growing out of this branch. Okay, the base of the tree is also a Y. The Y doesn't have to be even. Maybe one side of the Y is longer than the other, but it's always going to split away, which is what we see in the natural structure of a tree trunk. Okay, so I'm using the tip of this round tip brush, and I'm just placing some vertical lines, and I'm thinking of that letter Y. Okay, you can always add some maybe going up, so as I go along my path, okay, things are going to recede in the distance, which means they're going to get smaller. They also become higher on the horizon. Okay, so I'm going to continue some vertical lines along my triangular path that I've made here. Okay, so now once I have done that, you are ready to start kind of creating some of the leaves. And the thing I like about this is if we think about our techniques we've just practiced, we've obviously done wet into wet. We have worked with different types of brushes. Okay, this one is almost kind of like a scumbling or a stamping technique is what I would say. So you can use like a flat brush here. Okay, you can try any type of brush. It's always kind of fun to test it out on your palette first before you start your paper. So what I'm going to do is just practice a few stamping techniques on my palette and see what I like, okay, for making the tree leaves. So here's just this brush, and it's just dotting, so it makes sort of a rounded shape. That one does. Let's try the round tip then, okay? That one is almost more of a pointed shape, okay? And then try it with your other color. Try overlapping them, okay? So try stamping your brush on your palette before you decide to go in and make the leaves. I am gonna do a combo of a little bit of orange and yellow. And now I'm gonna go up to the tops of the branches and I'm just gonna gently dot. Now I put yellow and orange on this brush on purpose so that I get a little bit of a variety of those colors. And I'm really focusing on just stamping the brush rather than smearing or dragging it, okay? And as I always say, painting is kind of a process, so just go with the process. Now what I'm doing here is changing the direction of my brush so that I get leaves pointing down and leaves pointing up. Okay. Maybe I have some leaves that are sideways. Okay. But anytime you feel like, for example, if like that black was a little wet still, you could always let it dry and then come back. I'm going to wash out my brush, dry it really, really well because you don't want much water on your brush when you're doing the stamping technique. And just add a little bit of more pure yellow into my leaf textures. Okay, so, you know, at this point you could say you're done. You could choose to go in with your really small brush, and sometimes it's fun to add, you know, maybe there's some really tiny little branches, you know, and you could have done this before as well, but you can always go do it afterwards if you feel like there's some places that you could add little extra peaks of branches sticking out, okay? Maybe we have some really tiny spots here. Okay, so just kind of have fun with it. If you want to add any details that you know you feel like would work well in this scene, absolutely go for it. I'm just kind of trying to keep it simple and show you guys the basic steps, okay? So that would be day 2 of the leaf landscape painting on watercolor paper. Oh, don't forget the stem too. I would probably go in here and just looking at that and being like, oh, I don't want to forget that. You know, I'm going to pull a little bit of my blue color and drag that along there. Maybe even add some texture with the black. Okay, the next video we'll be painting on the real leaf.